Hi everyone, my name is Max Schmarzo. I'm a sports scientist and I work with professional athletes, and I like to help people understand science in a way that they can utilize it and apply it in their life. So talking a little bit about weight loss, oh my gosh, and the old calories in versus calories out debate. You go on social media, this is quite a disaster. It's actually really simple to understand, and you'll understand really quickly why it's kind of confusing, but not confusing in the way that you think it might be. So first off, before we even talk about this, what the heck is a calorie? A calorie is essentially a unit of energy. You can think about it. Unit, I'm going to use abbreviations of here, N. And a calorie in, we should be really specific, a stored calorie, okay? I guess technically if you consume something, you could throw it up, you could poop it out, something could occur that doesn't allow you to store the calorie. And calorie out is very simple as well. That is energy used, right? If you have gasoline in a car and you drive it somewhere, eventually your tank will run low on gas. You'll need to refill it up. If it's out of gas, it can't go anywhere. In this human body, if we had a car example and we had a gas tank, I suppose that gas tank could grow because it begins to store more energy. It's not really a non-adaptive system. So in the human body, you can continue to store excess. If there's an excess amount of calories, it's not like a gas tank where it just kind of goes empty and then you refill it. You actually have to, you store it in the body, right? That's how you gain weight. You eventually store the calories and you gain weight. Now, I'm going to have to wipe this off because I forgot my little wipe over there, so just deal with it. Let's talk about why this is so confusing. So from a very basic thermodynamic standpoint, the idea of calories in versus calories out dictating weight gain or weight loss. That's the biggest misconception. Weight gain and weight loss is key. Weight gain versus loss. And it's kind of inarguable. And people will argue, and I'll explain exactly why. Because what happens is, from a very first principle standpoint, this calories in versus calories out is going to determine weight loss. But people go, Max, what about hormones? Great question. Wonderful question. Anything that affects the calories out standpoint, such as hormones and their ability to regulate said metabolism, is going to affect the weight loss process. So if someone says counting calories doesn't matter for weight loss and only hormones do, well, what they're saying is hormones modify the calories out process and therefore can modify the calories in process to change the weight gain or weight loss equation. So counting calories does matter because it's going to give you the best indicator of calories in, which you care about, and then the output, your weight gain or weight loss, is going to dictate whether or not you're in a surplus or a deficit or you're sustaining. What's interesting here is our body is flexible and it will modify and toggle back and forth the amount of calories out. We have things like your resting metabolic rate, your just daily activities, let's call them DAs, like if you walk a whole bunch, your actual physical activity. Lots of things can modify the calories out process. Your consumption is basically the only thing that's going to affect your calories in process. But here's the big confusing thing. This concept takes into nothing accounting your happiness. It doesn't consider the effects of anything other than weight loss and weight gain. And that's really important to understand because from a first principle standpoint, if I want to understand weight loss and weight gain, I need to understand the core causal mechanism. That is the calories in, calories out. But if I care about more than just weight gain, maybe how you feel, maybe the energy levels you have, your ability to sleep, your emotions, your irritability, like I get really grumpy if I'm not having the right enough food, so on and so forth. There are many other factors that go into this. And how we perform this calorie out process can make a big difference. Are you doing a ton of physical activity? Are you simply eating way less? Are you intermittent fasting? Are you doing a diet that's really strict and hard to follow? And all that stuff is going to affect your happiness. And your happiness and your ability to sustain whatever the heck you're doing, whether you're on a diet or whether you just want to eat certain types of foods, your happiness and engagement and overall well-being, like how well you sleep at night and all these things, I'm going to try Z for my sleep, really, really matter. But they don't affect, okay, that's hard to say. They're not in the conversation of calories in versus calories out. This is a separate conversation. This might be a conversation about how does calories in and calories out and your diet and your hormones and the food you eat affect your energy levels, mood, and happiness. So of course, the idea and the process of losing weight might be more than just calories in versus calories out when it comes to consideration, being that your happiness and energy levels can dictate how long you sustain whatever calories in versus calories out protocol you're doing. And if that is unsustainable because instead of making you happy, it makes you very sad, you're not going to be very much committed to what you're trying to do. And the ability to stay engaged with that process over a long term is going to be much lower. So this, and we talk about hormones and energy levels and stress and foods and micronutrients and all these other fun things, it's not necessarily related to the causal first principle mechanism of weight loss. And that is the thermodynamic debate, not really a debate, concept that, you know, if you're going to burn more calories than you consume, you'll probably lose weight, right? If you take out more mass than you put in of any object, forget the human body, let's just say we have a lump of, I don't know, so that's our world here. Here's the world, here's Earth, and we take some rocks away from Earth, and we put some rocks back, but the number of rocks we take away is more than the rocks we put back, well, eventually Earth is going to become very tiny. I'm not sure what example that's happening. Maybe we're mining Earth and putting our rocks on a moon. I don't know. Neither here nor there. I digress. The point is, if we're taking out more mass than we're putting in, then yes, we're probably going to lose weight. But that's not what everyone cares about. And that's the big, big confusion. And the unfortunate reality is people like to position themselves against this calories in, calories out debate. And it's not a debate. It's not a position. It is the equivalent in terms of logic to say, I'm going to say calories in, calories out is the only thing that ever matters. How do I say this better? It's kind of like, it's conflating the ideas. And so it's like, this is simply an attempt to understand the mechanism of how things work at the very base level. But as we know, our body is far more complex. As a matter of fact, it's so complex, you could argue every single thing you ever do in a day, every interaction you talk to someone, everything you think about affects your energy levels, your happiness, your sleep, and so on, and ultimately could affect your ability to sustain whatever this is. Right? If you have a very bad day and someone at the office is mean to you, maybe you want to digress off your strict eating habits or the habits you have and you eat more food. I don't know. And maybe you watch a sports game, and I like to eat chips and salsa, and you watch the game and you're like, oh, chips and salsa. I ate a lot because it made my enjoyment of watching basketball better. Well, that affects this. So I'm not going to blame the chips and salsa. The point is our body is naturally deeply connected. And when we talk about the human body, if we always go back to it's infinitesimally connected and everything matters, that is fine and really important to understand and appreciate when in terms of a grander scale application, like, hey, let's make ourselves happy. Then we can talk about that whole process another day because there is a big misconception there because realistically the difference between physiological significance and statistical significance, and you can make a nice pie chart to talk about what really matters in terms of stones you should overturn, but we'll do that another day. In terms of calories in versus calories out, of course you can point to everything else under the sun, but that does still, at the end of the day, is going to come back to the first principles concept of more mass versus less mass. Now, I'm not here to talk to you about how you can achieve whatever status you want to achieve in terms of your shredded abs, big biceps, or maybe you're trying to gain muscle mass or just gain weight. I don't know what the heck you're trying to do, and honestly, this conversation isn't really about what the heck you're trying to do. It's about understanding this process and concept right here, because as you go on your own little endeavor to try and figure out and learn about sports science and nutrition and everything else under the sun of how the human health and body works, you're going to encounter this. And you're going to encounter people who position themselves against calories in versus calories out. And positioning yourself against counting calories or calories in versus calories out is a weird position because calories in versus calories out, which is often synonymous but not always directly related to, it's often used synonymously with calories in versus calories out, but technically it is different. But people who try and position themselves against that, it's kind of like a contrarian opinion for the sake of leverage. Like, ooh, I hold some power that you don't understand. And it's only the case if they don't recognize this process, because this is an unarguable process for the most. I mean, I'm happy to be argued against, but I can't imagine, like, if we're talking about first principles, just ignore all the other stuff, just the basic elementary process of how things lose or gain mass. There we go. And then we can go debate to the end of time what affects this and everything in between. Or all the way to like your hormonal feedback loops to perception, and you can go down the laundry list of anything under the sun. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope it clears up a little bit of the confusion of what you might encounter when it comes to calories in versus calories out, and the great debate that you get around nutrition on social media. So I appreciate you guys listening. I hope you enjoyed. You can take a screenshot. You can enjoy my whiteboard. I appreciate y'all, and as always, take care.